communities really have allowed me to find a bit of a sense of belonging with peers who think like me. And there has been such a lovely environment for me to learn and grow. So I'm just going to talk about some of the milestones in my journey right now, from first year onwards till third year, that is the year I am in right now. So in first year, I joined Amity University, Noida in July 2018. And the first thing that I thought about is I am not someone who's going to stick just to studies. That's just not me. That is not to say I don't recommend it. It's great. It's definitely very important. But for me, I really wanted to do some stuff outside of class as well, as I'd been a resident in a residential school earlier. So that was just sort of a habit for me. And at that point, I got active in tech clubs. Now, for all of you who are, in college right now, tech clubs really try to emulate the sort of thing that we're doing in communities outside. They are focused more at students within the college, but they are their own little communities in their way. So my first step into the community space was through tech clubs, and we had a Microsoft Tech Club in college. We had something around software engineering, game development. Then there were some others around cybersecurity, software testing. We had our DSC, which came up much later, but these were a few tech clubs, and I got active at the start with our Microsoft Tech Club and our game development club. So with these clubs, what happened is that I started actively working more on, first we all started promoting events and just marketing, and very similar to a lot of campus ambassador programs, right? We were focused on bringing more and more people. And just, maybe a month or so in, we had our department's Tech Fest announced. And that was called Cyber Cup. That used to be more active earlier in recent. I mean, it didn't happen last year due to, of course, COVID and all of that. But before that, we had Cyber Cup happening. And for me, I definitely, I wanted to make sure that I had my space. So I just went in and took up the toughest activity I could. That was sponsorship work. And sponsorship definitely, saw the least number of people come in. And I thought it might be a good place to start. So I got active in sponsorship with our Tech Fest. And this was a Tech Fest. We were having our first ever 24-hour hackathon here with people coming from outside college. So this really was the first tech event of the year where we'd see activity from outside college, and I really wanted to get active there. So sponsorship was the route I chose, which was crazy at times because, with sponsorship, there was so much of cold calling, there was so much of emailing. I had to learn about content writing, speaking under pressure, interacting, and finding people to reach out. So there was a lot of skills that I learned through all of this, focusing on, I primarily learned a lot more about event management. There was so much around content writing. I made graphics as well in the middle. I used to do a bit of that as a backup. And then, at the same time, I also learned how to communicate, how to network with people, how to essentially make my presence known in a group of people where none of us knew each other. So these were things that I ended up learning in my first year when I got active in clubs. And after that, though, for me, at least, that was that hackathon that we had during our Tech Fest. That was the first time that I heard about two student programs called the Microsoft Student Partner and the GitHub Campus Expert. So these got a little bit of my interest, definitely. After first year, during the holidays, I read up more about these, looked through these, and I started applying. Now, as I joined second year, I got selected. I joined the Microsoft Student Partner Program, which was really cool because I was the only active partner in college at that time. I believe we had a couple of more, but we never got to interact too much. And since I was active in colleges, I got more active with this program. I started conducting more and more events, definitely through my tech club, after which I got my opportunity to speak as well. Now, this was, of course, this was a really cool thing, speaking at my club. And, we were in second year, we had juniors as well. So there was a little bit of the thing where, you're the guy that people are coming to and you're speaking to these guys and you're helping them. And that was cool, to be honest. But, as I got more active with this program, I really started, looking at the activities happening outside college. Because, until this point, to be honest, to be quite frank, I had joined this program just to get a nice little mark on my resume. And some of these events I was doing and little bit of the upskilling I was doing was because they were program requirements. But as I started looking outside more and more, that's when I realized what communities are. That's when I got a little sense of what's happening and how communities can actually help. Because only after this program did I start attending meetups, to be honest. And the first meetup that I attended was the .NET Conf local event in 2019, and that was conducted at the Microsoft Gurugram office. So that was my first meetup. I went there. That was organized by this community called Geek 97, which was led by Microsoft MVPs and GDEs and all. So I got to interact with these people, and at that moment, I realized that for me, my perspective to groups and communities was really restricted to clubs, but the world outside was a lot larger. It was simply immense, and I definitely felt a lot smaller, a very small part of it, but it was really exciting, to be honest, because at that point I think my horizons were significantly widened. So I stayed in touch with these people. I went on for more events, I went for more meetups. And funny thing, so .NET Conf local event was my first meetup. The very next day was my second meetup, and that was DevFest, New Delhi, which saw over 1,000 attendees that had been selected out of an application pool of 4,000 plus. And that was probably when I realized, that's when it hit me, that this isn't just something that just small little groups of techies are running after. It's really something for everyone, because that had students and professionals and folks, who are not just developing, but focused on the business side, focused on working with communities, on writing. And it was something, there was something for everyone. And that's really, that was when I felt that I want to start doing more for the community. I want to start doing more for that, because that was probably the event. I was able to meet with new people. I was able to network with some really cool folks. I didn't really, I didn't have that experience of communities and how they could impact. And I think that was one of the most impactful events in my life at that point of time. That was DevFest 2019, New Delhi. And I remember that I had attended the cloud track there. I'd heard about DevOps and all of these. And that's when I started working with these technologies too. And I started working with Azure. I experimented more. I started looking at more technologies within Microsoft as well, because of course, I had the Microsoft Student Partner Program. I had resources from there. I had support from there. So I started utilizing that a lot more, apart from just, program requirements. And at that time, speaking and organizing, I ended up getting selected among the top 50 Microsoft student partners in the Asia Pacific region. Now, what that essentially did was that the top 50 were based on an internal application form, and these top 50 were invited to a regional summit in a selected location. Every year there is supposed to be one. We didn't have this particular summit because this was 2020, and that was the time when COVID had started. But we were selected, we received the goodies for that, we received a lot of support for that. And that was really in itself a really cool feeling, because that was probably the first recognition I got for working in the community. Now, at around this very time, I got invited to speak at my first event outside college. And this was an event called the Open Source Roadshow that was being conducted at GTBIT New Delhi, that is Guru Tegh Bahadur Institute of Technology, New Delhi, by a couple of other Microsoft student partners and one of their college clubs. And this was a multi-hundred, this had over 100 people. It had 150 on the first day, I believe. And this is a 2-day event. There was an event. The event that I led was focused on AI gaming, which essentially was focused on teaching Azure Cognitive Services using Python, and it had people creating bots. And that day, we also had events on progressive web apps. There was something on Unity. The very next day, I came back to speak on IT fundamentals and IT certifications, and there was a session on Alexa as well. And that was the first event that I spoke at outside college. And I still remember that the people I made that day were, I'm friends with some of them till this day, and we still work together. I learned from them a lot. And I really built a lot of these amazing relations at that point of time. Soon after, we had the Microsoft Student Partner India Summit, which was essentially a summit for every student partner. Sorry, ambassador is the new name. It was an event for every student partner in the country. Everyone was invited. We had our program lead come over from the US, including our community manager, and we also had a few people from Microsoft India Developer Relations. So that was a lovely event in its own place. While attending these, I got to meet some really amazing people, network with some epic people from all around because, we had folks from, I mean, I am in North India. I am currently in Dehradun. I've studied in Delhi. So for me, being in Delhi and seeing people come all the way from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu was really cool because, that's when I realized the importance of these. People were actually traveling from so far for just a day to attend this event. And it was absolutely fantastic to meet all of these people and, learn from them. And we made a lot of friendships through these events. Very soon after, maybe just, a few, I mean, January was when we had the student partner summit. In February, we had NG India, where I got the opportunity to lead the volunteer team. And NG India is the annual conference for Angular developers in India. The reason why I got this opportunity was because the organizer of NG of the .NET Conf event was the same person leading this activity, and I'd just been in touch. I'd network, I'd met, and you see that networking that I'd done months back at .NET Conf 2019 got me this opportunity here. And this was a conference which had speakers coming from different parts of the world. We had people from Germany, Australia. We had people from the Angular team in the US, and I mean, of course, we had folks from all around the country for this as well. So getting that opportunity was again highly influential in my personal growth because I got to learn a lot about, since, I'd gotten more active in the community at this point, I'd been learning, I'd been focusing on growth of our local activities in some of these as well. So I understood a lot more about community development, community leadership, creating my own programs, working with larger groups of people because even as I'd worked on event management, we were now working at a scale which I could not have possibly predicted in the past. This was honestly far, far beyond what I had expected. So those were some of the highlights of my second year. And this was also the time when I got more active in the hackathon space. I had my first interactions with Mlh through the local Hack Day share because some of my friends and we had organized a local Hack Day share in Delhi. And then, I was an active part of another external hackathon, which was not really college affiliated, but just something that some of my peers and my friends from the community started. So I worked with them, helped them out. And that's how I got more and more active in the hackathon space. So just after second year ended, I started working with Procate. I had actually initially started closer to the end of my second year, but I worked through and through third year. I've worked for 7 months so far, and I've interned out of the 7 months. I worked for 5 months as a community intern and 2 months, about just over 2 months as a user research intern. This was also the year when I participated in my first hackathon. That was Rookie Hacks by Mlh in the Summer League. If anyone has been active in the Summer League or with Mlh hackathons, you'll probably know Rookie Hacks. I also won my first hackathon in this duration. That was the Microsoft VS Code hackathon. And the reason why I had even participated in this opportunity was because I had got to know about this hackathon in our Microsoft student partner circles. And at this point, our program got rebranded as well. Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador is what it's known now. But well, again, it's the same program that has just been updated. And that's where I heard about this hackathon. It was co-organized with Mlh. So I participated in this and we won. And the prizes that we got in this were essentially these really cool Surface earbuds. And we got a mentorship session with the vice president at Microsoft. And this was the person, Amanda Silver. She's currently leading the Visual Studio team. So we got this opportunity through the hackathon. And at this while during this, after this hackathon, I got more and more active in the hackathon space. I got invited to speak at and judge at a hackathon that was Hack Jaipur. I was one of the speakers and judges there. And with Hack was a large event. It was in fact MLH's largest hackathon in the Asia Pacific region at that point of time. And after that, I got an opportunity to speak at MLH's conference, that is HackCon 8, and it's dedicatedly a conference for hackathon organizers and community leaders, where I co-ran a discussion session on developing empathy within communities. After that, I also got another opportunity to speak at an international conference this year, that is DevRel Asia, which is dedicatedly a conference focused on developer relations. And this is a conference organized by the Tokyo DevRel Meetup. So these were all opportunities I got to know of because I had been active in the community, because I'd been learning from the community. These were opportunities for me to share what I had learned. And definitely all of these opportunities, they really helped me build my personal brand because, if anyone is aware of the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, if you're involved in the program, if you've seen how it works, you'll know that there are various tiers within the program, alpha, beta, gold. And the gold is the highest tier. The minimum requirements to achieve that is that you need to be active in the program for at least a year and you need to consistently contribute. And after that, it really depends on, because this is a position that can only be nominated, for which you can only be nominated by the program management. And there is no objective single way to it. So that was a huge thing for me because this essentially meant that, because gold ambassadors are essentially leading the program on this ambassador level. Along with this, I got selected within MLH as a hackathon coach, which is definitely a position I started aspiring to for quite some time. And hackathon coach, there's a misconception. Hackathon coach is actually not an ambassador position. It's a paid contractual position where you're working for MLH. You're an extension of the MLH team and MLH partnered hackathons and MLH's first party hackathons. So this was a huge thing for me. Of course, going through, with my few community achievements, I also had been working on the technical end, right? As I'd mentioned, I'd started working with cloud and with some other technology, so I just chose cross-platform app development with Xamarin. And due to my work here, I got selected as a member of the .NET Foundation, which was really cool because this was really just a Hail Mary on my end. I just went in with my work and applied, and I honestly had not expected to be selected, but well, I thought, why not? Let's just take a risk and go for it. And I got selected for that. So it was really amazing because, there was so many things that happened this year that would not have even been possible had I not gotten active in my second year. A lot of the things that happened right now are just follow-ups to everything that I'd done earlier. And everything that I achieved now is because of the hard work that started over a year back. So I started getting these results now. And right now, what I'm focusing on is, just helping my peers grow their personal brands, help them achieve their aims, help them figure out how to work through the community. I've gotten active again with the club at my college. I'm working in the core team at our DSC, that's the Developer Student Club. And really just working more and more on, helping students around me and in fact anyone else outside my community with our DSC. It doesn't matter which college you're in, you're always welcome to join. So that was just a little bit about my milestones and achievements throughout my college life. And every single achievement I've talked about is because of my work in the community. It's because of what I've learned and seen in the communities. And had I not gotten this exposure because of my activity in communities, I don't think anything that I have shown on my second and third year slides would have been possible. So that was the impact tech communities had on my student career so far. And absolutely, there is a lot more to come. Just because I've gotten this much does not by any means say that I'm stopping. In fact, it's only going to ramp up more. The work, the effort, the hard work, it's all going to increase. But that is something I'm definitely very excited about. Now, at this time, I think a lot of people might want to know how to get more active in communities. And definitely there is a slight sort of a path that I keep to get active in communities. Now, the path for me at least is, you first start by participating. Join a community focusing on your preferred tech and, just begin learning first. and see how things are working. Now there are a lot of communities you can actually join, um, be it through Microsoft, be it with the DSC program at Google. There's Facebook Dev Circles. You've got GitHub Campus Experts doing so many things, and then there are a lot of other foundations, right? Like Script's been doing fantastic work, and I remember because the first time I saw Script was at their stall back in DevFest 2019. So I remember that's when I first saw their they had a setup there, and since then, think about it, think how they've grown. So these were all communities we found then. And really, one thing I have to add here is that please don't reject communities just because they might be big or small. Look at what they're trying to do, look at how they're trying to contribute. A smaller community can always become bigger. But a bigger community may not always have that sort of an impact on you. So that is something you should look at. See how they're contributing, see how they're focusing on what you want to learn, and just keep learning first. Start participating. Once you've built up that little knowledge base within that community, you can start mentoring more and more, because just as you were a newcomer, someone else will also be a newcomer sometime, and it's a good thing to start helping peers and sharing your knowledge. We are the forums of that community, so a lot of communities are running on Telegram, on Discord, and there's a lot of channels that are being using, like Slack as well, for example, and then of course there's WhatsApp and other communication platforms. You can always go and help and mentor. That is something that is always appreciated in communities. Once you're more comfortable mentoring and sharing your knowledge, what I will say is you start organizing more. Once you start organizing, what you can do is you should start recreating your experiences for your peers at college or in that particular community by organizing activities on your own. And these could be programs of that specific community. These could be something that you're interested in yourself, or something that you experienced earlier and want to share again. So you should start organizing more. This will allow you to become better at meeting larger groups, speaking at the public, and it will also, of course, help people, because you're not only just organizing, but you're also mentoring, you're also teaching, you're educating. And that's definitely a big part of that organizing, right? Once you've organized for a while, once you've helped people for a while, that is a point when, once you feel a little more confident with that, you can start developing your own initiatives and programs, or even your own community, and lead it for your regional communities. Go beyond them, because right now with the pandemic, we all have a hidden opportunity, which isn't very hidden, but it's not something that it's still something that people are figuring out, and that is that you're not restricted by region anymore. Everything is virtual. You can meet anyone in the world through your communication platforms online, through LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Discord, WhatsApp, any platform that you prefer for communicating. You can meet someone. So you can utilize these opportunities and get more and more active in communities, and just lead and develop your own ideas and initiatives and help people with this, and just give back to the community that you've been taking back from all this while, as a participant, as a mentor, as an organizer. So that is just some of the things that I wanted to talk about, and some of the slides that I had. I will go through questions now. And in the meantime, if you want to connect with me, my website link is there. You can find my contact details on the first page. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter or any of the other socials I've mentioned there. So yeah, let's scroll through the questions. And so, okay, so the first question is how to join DSC. What's the procedure? Now, if you're talking about joining the DSC of a specific university, each university has its own procedure. Each university has its own platform that they prefer. My DSC, that's DSC Amity University, we've been working on Discord. So if you actually go to my website and go to the About Me section, I've listed some communities there, and my DSC link is there, so you can check that out. If you want to lead the DSC program, however, every year the team for the DSC program releases a form where you can apply, and after that, that is led by certain interviews and all. Now, this is something I've learned from my DSC lead, who's currently working. I can't comment on the intricacies of the application for the DSC lead position because I haven't gone through myself. I'm currently working in our core team. So that is something you can definitely, look up on Google as well. But if you want to join my DSC, you can just I can share the link in the chat later on. Um, okay, so the second question we have from Abhijit. Can you brief on your international conference experiences? How can we get in such opportunities? Yeah, so for me, I mean, both the conferences I spoke at were virtual conferences. I found these opportunities online because MLH released a post tweet about these, and Devrel Asia again had their handle. And at the same time, a lot of these opportunities you can find at least because these were dedicatedly towards developer relations and communities. I saw Devrel Asia, I believe, in Devrel Weekly, or because some other people um, who had been involved with this had retweeted about this, and that's how I found these. I found these on social media. But you can find a lot of international conferences on platforms like PaperCall as well. So that is definitely one way to find conferences. And because a lot of these organizations, since they want to announce their call for proposals, there's always something coming out on Twitter or on LinkedIn. These two platforms we always tend to find some or the other information. So, once that is done, you can always look at these opportunities there. And as far as the experience goes, I think I've loved both my experiences. It's allowed me to meet people from all around the world because MLH Hackathon had so many people from North America and some from Europe. And of course, these are communities you would typically not interact with if you were working in your region. So that was something absolutely lovely. And since these were all people active in hackathons, I think that was something that I really loved because that's one of my favorite spaces. So I really enjoyed that. And those were great opportunities. Devrel Asia similarly had so many people from Japan and East and Southeast Asia because there were folks from Singapore, from Japan, and some from Korea and other parts as well. And we had some folks from Europe and all as well, too, and the North America. So that was lovely in its own place. How to communicate with mentors of any program? All right. So when we talk about mentors, every community has its own mentorship team. Every community has its own organizing team. If you're active in any particular program, you can always reach out to the program's organizing team. If you can't find mentorship, they will always help you. Otherwise, for example, if you're talking about ambassadors like folks who are working with student ambassadors and all, and if you're looking for DSC leads, you can always find them on LinkedIn and Twitter. Just if you search those titles, people have those titles set up on the LinkedIn, right? So you can always search them using those titles and find them and get in touch with them. How they select, like, what's the main highlights they've seen in your resume? Harsh, I would just want to ask which particular thing are you specifying here? Because are you talking about a community program like the student partner and ambassador or the internship? It would be really cool if you could just elaborate more on this. And also, I think there are some things that there's some chat that's happening here in the chat. If you have any queries, just take them to the question section, please, because I think that's what I'm going through first. Um, we have a few others like, we don't have DSC in our college. Can we join any other college's DSC? You can actually join another college's DSC as long as they are comfortable with that. It depends from DSC to DSC. My DSC is always open to join. Um, Similarly, I know quite a few others, so like which will definitely be welcome, but it really depends on the DSC, on that particular DSC's team. How to be an MLH fellow. The MLH fellowship application is on the website. You can go there, fill it up. It's fellowship.mlh.io. You can always check it out there. Questions. What is the work as MLH coach? Okay, so MLH coaches are essentially representatives of MLH at hackathons. So if you check out MLH's hackathons, you will always see that there are some people who are actively running the mini events or speaking at some of the local host activities or helping hackers, helping organizers. That all of that is encompassed within the MLH coach program. And definitely for activities that you do for MLH as a coach, you are compensated monetarily. Who has been your biggest inspiration in tech communities? All right, so some of my inspirations and mentors, and these are people who I would love to give shout outs. Paras Pundir, he's one of my biggest inspirations. He's the current program manager for Microsoft Reactor Bangalore, and he's someone who I met at the Student Partner Summit in India in Delhi. Um, Yashraj Nayak and Ankita Mishra from ProGate India. They are two of my biggest inspirations in tech communities. I absolutely love their work. Yashraj is a former MSP, and that's how I met him through one of our WhatsApp groups for the Bangalore region. And Ankita, I had met more after getting active with ProGate, but Ankita is a absolute gem, and it's always a pleasure working with her. And then of course, apart from that, Ali Mustafa Sheikh is a big inspiration for me. He's currently the TensorFlow UG Mumbai organizer, and he's also recently become the community manager for the developer student programs at Postman. So Ali, I was actually in my team at NG India, and I'd met with Ali then, and since then I've been working with him. I am co-organizing the Global AI Mumbai meetup with him, and he's definitely one of my greatest mentors. Dhananjay Kumar, who was the NG India organizer, who's the founder of Geek 97, he's a huge inspiration for me. And there's so many more people, like there's Saurabh Rajpal from Google, and then there's a lot of other people. And I am forgetting some names, but all of these people have been huge inspirations for me. Next question we've got: what is DSC? So DSC is Developer Student Clubs. It is currently, it's Google's student program for where they essentially enable people in colleges to lead and create clubs and communities for those particular colleges. So that's the DSC program for you. How are we going to proceed in script winter of code? I believe it would be better if Jay and all could answer that particular question. And that is something that's definitely going to be more conversation on from the script team end. When can we? Hi Shivai. All right. So here is another great community person in the chat right now. Shivai Lamba. He's been an Mlh Fellow. He is a Google Summer of Code mentor with Jenkins and CNCF, I believe. And Shivai is arguably one of the best hacker teams in the country right now. So everyone, you can chat with Shivai as well. And he's an awesome person, and definitely Shivai sir, whenever you tell, we can definitely plan something around. One person is going to contribute on one project. Okay. I just have one request. So, with script winter of code, it'd be cool if Jay or anyone from the script team could also discuss this in the chat once. This, of course, very important topic, but it's slightly a variation from the agenda. So it would be cool if we could focus more on questions on the agenda in the question section right now. How much time does it take to get MSP application reviewed? So the MSP application currently is being reviewed and accepted in cohorts. If you've applied right now, so the last window for applications closed in November for the January cohort. And currently we have a window open probably till January and February, which the results will come in April, around April probably. Based on what happened in 2020, the window will close in Feb, and then the results will come in April. So that is the current review process. Talking about Microsoft program, like how and what main highlights they have. Okay, thanks a lot for just coming back to that. So with MSP, they primarily, so you do not actually need to be highly technically advanced to get into the program. What you need to be able to demonstrate is a willingness to learn, grow. You have to demonstrate your passion for technology and what you're doing right now. And you have to talk about how you want to contribute to the community. Why do you want to contribute to the community? That's a very important aspect. And there are written questions, and there is a video as well in the application, so you can look that up as well. That procedure is something that is publicly available. There's a lot of blogs on that, so you can definitely look that up at any point of time. And yes, in the MSP program, in Student Ambassador now, sorry. Okay, it's now called Microsoft Student Ambassador. Yes, if you get rejected, you will receive a mail for that. All right. So, for now, I think I can also go through the chat as well. Raman's mentioned a really interesting point here. Bro, all these meetups and webinars feel like student of the year theme based, looks good, feel good, get motivated, make connections, learn new terms like Azure, AI, ML, Unity, Hackathon, etc. But पढ़ाई की बात कोई नहीं करता कि पढ़ना क्या है. um, okay, honest truth. So, if you apply, when you apply for internships and jobs, you will see certain skills that they're looking for in job descriptions. Like, अब जैसे if you're focusing on web development, full stack developer का role है, then there's a lot of focus on a certain stack. Like someone wants to focus on React, someone wants Node. वो specialized skills आपके हो गए. Similarly, किसी को DevOps profile चाहिए तो उसका specialized role है. अगर general software engineering role we talk about, then we definitely have a requirement for something like that's called data structures and algorithms. We need those skills in at least one general purpose programming language like Java, C++, or Python. Those are the three most common. Then based on the interviews, some also allow JavaScript, C Sharp, C, all of these, but C++, Java are my two recommendations. I personally work with Java apart from my other work with C Sharp, while developing. But that is definitely very important. दूसरी बात, कड़वा सच, um, I know a lot of people, all of our colleges always push us, pressure us, to study, get great grades, and, get a 9 CGPA. Fact is that if you look at major companies and their recruitment procedures, they have a lower, something like an Amazon has a requirement of a 7 CGPA. Microsoft used to have 7. This year, we saw 8, but typically over the last few years, that's what their criteria has been 7, because so like their software engineering intern saw 8, but then customer software engineer intern and associate consultant intern had no CGPA requirement specified there in that particular situation. So um, fact is that after you crack that CGPA and you get into the process, your CGPA doesn't matter. What matters is your skill and how you're able to go through the tests and interviews. So yes, I mean, apart from DSA, the core subjects you should know about are operating systems. There you need to have basic knowledge of DBMS, that's databases. You need knowledge of networks, and to some extent, sometimes system design as well, which is not always for internships. That is seen a little more during full-time job interviews, but not during internships typically. So that's some of the stuff. But fact is, just grades are not what companies are looking for. And I think, I've got a query around our DSC. Okay, I'll share my DSC link in the chat right now. And if, whenever you join that, you can just, we've got our DSC organizing team that you can get in touch with. And yeah, that's the link for our DSC. Wow, lots of attendees here. Hey, everyone. Please feel free to ask your queries and, discuss anything that you have in mind. And okay, so Vikas had mentioned here how to communicate well in public, how to overcome some hesitation, fear. I think for that particular question, I used to have stage fright at one point. I sometimes still do, to be honest. Every session I go until 2 minutes before the session, I still have that fear. And I actually, it now for me it just disappears once the session begins. But stage fright is something that's very real that I've been through. And my solution to stage frights was just getting, into sessions and speaking and just going for it. And for me, just practicing more and more and speaking more and more is what got that fear out. Until then, until you're actually not trying it, that fear is not gonna go, because doing anything apart from actually facing that fear straight in the face and going front on, you're just beating around the bush, right? Until that point. So yeah, that's there. How can we stand out to be a Microsoft student partner? Um, so what you have to do is you have to be consistent. You have to keep working. I mean, if you're applying right now, having a little bit of experience beforehand with clubs, or if you've worked with any tech, having that is great. But I remember when I joined, I had very minimal experience. I had done a little bit of Java work. I had 0 projects. I did not know web development or app development. I just had been working with clubs in my college, and I was able to communicate very well. Good communication skill is great, at least while applying. Once you're in the program, it's a different matter altogether. After that, it really is consistent contributions and impact that you're making. And that doesn't mean you're doing 50 events a year, 100 events a year. That's not what it is. It could just be 20 events. But if they're able to generate a great impact, that's how you stand out. Do we have something else that's coming in as well? I'm also looking at the chat. So in case anyone wants to, go through the chat, that's a great point. Yeah, you can always mention there as well. Or I mean, I'd prefer the question section to be honest. But yeah. Um, okay. What tips would you give to beginners getting at okay, what tips would you give to beginners to create an impact in various tech communities? All right, so as a beginner, one worry that a lot of people have is that they do not know enough. One thing I've realized in my experience, this is something that I still do. I still face imposter syndrome, and one thing I realize is that even if you've taken a couple of steps, that's probably two steps more than someone else. And those are two steps you can still teach. So keep sharing what you're learning. Be it as basic as possible, that does not matter. Just keep sharing what you're learning. Because in all honesty, if you're able to share on the basics very, very well, that could impact more people than you might imagine. Just as you're a beginner who's worried about what you're going, how you will grow and you're still trying to learn, there is definitely going to be someone else who's worried about the same things. And if you take one step, it's always great to share that one step with someone else. That could allow them to take that one step and share with a few more people. And that creates a very nice little circle and chain for everyone. That creates a very healthy environment for all, where we're all learning from each other and sharing from each other. So that would be my recommendation. Keep sharing what you're learning. And seriously, don't be afraid. If someone tells you that this is basic and shouldn't be shared, do not listen to them. That just if it's something that can help anyone, don't be afraid to share. Can you share your first talk experience? Like how I felt very nervous in the start when I spoke at my college. That was on the MSP program about the application and the program details and perks and all, and I was very, very nervous. I would have freaked out, but then um, once I got in 5-10 minutes in, I forgot that I was nervous. And yeah, I came in with a presentation about that. I came in with a presentation. I came in well prepared. I'd rehearsed as well in my own room in front of the mirror. But well, once I was in, I just forgot about my fear and went in. And I came out really happy at the end because I mean, of course, I was just happy to survive through, but also because some of the people who actually attended that, who learned from the content I made then, um, went on to actually go on. They told me that they'd apply, and that was the aim of my session, to get more, to create more awareness about the program. So that was nice. It was a good session, and that was a small session in my college, but it was definitely a lot of fun. I had applied for Mlh Fellowship and gotten rejected. Okay, so for the fellowship, I am not involved in the recruiting, and I haven't been, I haven't been through the process myself. So I'm not going to be the best guide for that. But we have an MLH fellow in the chat. Shiva is there. Shiva has been through the procedure. Shiva is an MLH fellow. So you could always contact and meet with any MLH fellow as well. How does one become an MLH coach? So the MLH coach has an application procedure that you can go through, and they have a form. They open it a few times a year, and I mean currently I believe it is closed right now, but they do recruit. And for the MLH coach, you need to be able to show your experience with hackathons and with communities, because an MLH coach takes both the organizing and a participant perspective in mind. What tech should you learn at the first initial stage? You could just look at what interests you a lot, but I mean, feel free to go ahead and I mean, if I have to recommend, I guess web development would be something I recommend, but do feel free to um, try whatever you what interests you. Web dev would be a great place to start if you do not know what to start with. So that's probably one thing I can recommend. I've started learning web development right now, and I think it's a great domain. And there's a lot. I mean, if you're looking for a job from a job perspective, there's a lot of demand for that. So that's a great place. Any other? Okay, is there an interview? Yes, there are multiple interviews in the process. There's a written application. There are various questions that you need to answer, and based on those, you will be invited for three interviews, which both have people being knocked out essentially. So that's definitely there. And those interviews are precious. They have two of those interviews are precious situations where you'll actually have to enact through a situation while conversing with your interviewer. So yeah, it's not something you can always go and prepare for. You really need to rely on your experiences in the past to go through through the MLH coach interviews, which is why it's also quite selective. And because of course, since it's a paid program, so that makes a difference. Why Android projects are so less and how not to be a coder. Okay, so I have to make a slight correction here. There is nothing called a noob coder. There's beginners and there are veterans. There's nothing called a noob coder. Someone who's beginning can always become better. And why Android projects are less is kind of depends on the people as well. Now, I mean, if you're talking from a hackathon perspective, it might be because something that is cross-platform that can work across more and more devices is something people might want to work on. But I started off with that. My first hackathon, I had made a mobile app. So there is no such thing against Android projects. Android projects are very much welcome. It really depends on the kind of a solution that you want to make. In fact, at Hackoff, which is VIT's hackathon, where I was involved in judging, one of the best projects in that hackathon was an app. So there's nothing like this, some discrimination against app developers or anything. Are they tech interviews or general projects? The coaches interviews aren't tech interviews. Fellowship, yes, has tech interviews. The coaches doesn't. The coaches interviews focus on the experience within community and within your hackathons because they'll discuss organizing as well. They're going to enact a situation which is focused on organizing. So it really depends on your community experiences and your community leadership skill and your hackathon organizing and hackathon participant skill. That's essentially what they're focused on. Again, with the fellowship, they do discuss the project you're applying with, but I am not the best guide for the fellowship. So it would be cool if you could find an Mlh fellow. They're very easy to find on LinkedIn, so you can always go ahead and do that. Is first year right time to apply for student program? Yeah, it absolutely is. You can apply in first year. That's perfectly great. They don't look at your year or your GPA. The Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador does not care about either. They don't even care if you're just a computer science student or not. As long as you can demonstrate that passion, you're always welcome. We have people in the program who are focusing on their MBA. So that's all right. Do we have any other questions coming in? Okay, I believe one of the questions here has been hidden. Okay, what are the perks of MSP is one question. So with the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, we get there's quite a lot of perks in a materialistic. I mean, if I have to talk about it materialistically, we get personal domain names, you get Microsoft certification vouchers, we get TechSmiths products throughout, we get Camtasia and Snagit, which can be used to create tutorials and basic video editing. At the same time, we also get $150 worth of Azure credits every month. Through Visual Studio Enterprise, we get LinkedIn Learning. Um, we get in physical events, there is food and beverage support in partnership with Subway as well. And I mean, those are some of the perks. Along with that, there are some exclusive speaker invites, invites for conferences. So, like the Global AI Student Conference that happened, we've got an invite independently. We got an invite to the Student Showcase at .NET Conf 2020, which is where one of my projects got featured. And that happened because, we are directly in communication with cloud advocates and developer relations folks at Microsoft. So at the same time, some of the gold ambassadors in the past have gotten opportunities to speak at Microsoft Ignite and Microsoft Build, which are their flagship conferences every year. So those are all perks of the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. One very important point, Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador does not guarantee referrals. That does not mean you'll get a job at Microsoft. If you upskill and you grow, yes, you can leverage that to create opportunities for yourself, but that is no guarantee. When the results of November cohort will be out, they'll be out in January, probably first week or latest second week of Jan, but they'll be out in January. Do we have something else as well? How tech communities impact students, give some negative of it. Is there any negative side effects cause of contributing to the projects? Like what, to be honest, think about it. And what do you think could, Hari Kishan, I get some skepticism here, but why would there be a negative side effect to contributing to projects? You're just getting to learn how to contribute. And if you contribute on GitHub, your commits and your pull requests, for example, have your GitHub ID along with them, right? So I don't see negatives to contributing to tech communities. I believe, for me, communities, it'll bring you in contact with people. You may not necessarily gel with everyone, but the community in itself is not creating a negative impact. You're taking back whatever you want from it. If you do not want to overindulge, you don't have to. A community doesn't force you to do that. And like stealing ideas, whoever contributing to the projects. So if you talk about tech projects and you're talking about open source projects, if you see every project has a license, any major project, and in fact, it's recommended for anyone, even if you're a small project, every project has a license, for example. And if someone is stealing that, then if you want to and if you need to, you have legal basis there as well. Stealing ideas is something, even if you're not in a community, it can happen. It's not something that is exclusive to tech communities. It can happen anywhere you want. So that's perfect. That's not something that I would call a negative of a tech community. Hi, Akansh. We have another great person here in the chat right now, just like Shivai. Ekansh is a GitHub campus expert. He's another Microsoft student ambassador. He was also a Google Code and mentor for Circuitverse. And Ekansh has been highly active in the communities and Delhi communities with various organizations like IOSD as well. Glad to have you here, Ekansh. Do we have any other queries coming in? It'd be great. Because definitely there's looks like there's some excitement at Ekansh's entry. Yeah, no, definitely. Go take Ekansh and Shivai's Ekansh and Shivai's LinkedIn are something you all should take. They're all great people. IOSD has done some really good work, and I see Aditya, you're in DTU. Ekansh has done a lot of work with IOSD. DTU, Ekansh would be a great person to answer that. Do we have something else in the questions? Otherwise, I believe we're also coming towards the end of time, so we could just take some last few questions. Unless, of course, otherwise, Jay, would you like to jump in once? Competitive coding versus hackathon, I like both. You can do both. You should do both. Create a balance between those two because when you're taking projects later on, competitive coding skills, if you're focusing on your DSAlgo skills, those are definitely necessary for your tech recruiting. At the same time, you need projects on your resume, right? And hackathons allow you to build projects. In fact, a lot of them, with certain aims, with certain goals, and that is something that also contributes to your resume. Plus, if you're looking at startups like projects a lot because, of course, with a larger company, something like Microsoft, Google, or an Amazon, you have larger teams. With startups, you need someone who's already skilled in certain technologies. So that's why development skill really helps, and that's something you will build in hackathons. So, you should definitely try and work on both. Both are great. And with CP and Dev, I mean, because with CP is focused more on the data structure and algo skills. Dev is focused more on on the overall development of projects. You create full projects when you're focusing on development work. You're not just focusing on optimizing or solutions or solving problems within a specific frame point within a certain frame. So that's a bit of of the difference. So with CP, you'd probably end up working with something like C++, Java, focused on creating the best solutions for a very specific problem. In development, you're creating larger projects, something like website or an application to solve a certain problem that that people are facing. We have something else. Oh, how to balance community college studies with programming. You need to devote some time to both. Um, Spend some hours. You can allocate certain hours in your daily schedule focused on programming while focusing some on college studies. Definitely, college studies are important, but I will definitely recommend that once you've got a nice, respectable CGPA, you should spend more time on programming because after your CGPA, it's really the tests and interviews that will get you a job and not your CGPA. It just gets your foot in the door. But after that, it's your skills that help. So what you can do is if you've got a certain allocate if you can allocate some hours in your days, you can definitely do that. You can break it up in time, and you can just decide what things you want to prioritize on. You'll have to focus on how you want to break up your time because with everyone they have a different schedule. So my schedule is something that may not work with yours, and I can't recommend you to leave college studies totally for programming either, because of course if you don't have your basic grades, then you're not even getting your foot in the door, and that's important too. So I mean, for a majority of the semester, keeping exam days aside, you can focus more. You can make it a little more of an even breakup where you're spending more and more time on a daily basis on programming, few hours on a daily basis, while the rest is focused on your college studies. Utilize your weekends there for programming. That's a great time to focus on. And during exams, of course, you can decrease that based on exam pressure and academic pressure. Awesome. That's awesome, Ikant. That's awesome, everyone. I tell you what, I recommend you all to share your LinkedIn's in the chat so that everyone can connect with each other. That's great. So yeah, do we have any other queries? Thanks, Ikant. Lovely to see everyone sharing their LinkedIn profiles. If you see the website there, you can find my LinkedIn, Twitter, and all other socials there as well. I'll just add my um, website link here, and you can just connect with me from there. So that would be a great place to join in from. You can always find all my socials there. If there's any question that got left, you can always let me know right now. Or yeah, just you can all tell how you're feeling. If you like the session, if you think there's something else you'd like me to talk about, that'd be awesome. Thanks, Ankit. What is my opinion about competitive programming versus development? You need both. If you want to become a good software engineer, you need both skills. Um, you need to balance your time and work on both. They're both very important at the end of the day. Yes, I mean, there's always a lot of arguments and conversation on maybe, a lot of people say development is more important. And of course, that makes total sense within certain domains. Um, but as if when you're in college and when you're graduating, while applying for a software engineering position in general, you will need both knowledge of both because your projects will be discussed in the interviews, but the technical tests are all focused on data structures and algorithms. So you need both. If you're focusing just for jobs, after your data structure and algorithm skills are very sound, competitive programming becomes a whole other ballgame after that. If you're targeting something like ACM, ICPC, or something like that. So for that, you need to have a very different sort of a passion for programming. And if you're doing it just for jobs, you do not need to do that once your data structures and algorithms skills are very sound. But if you generally like coding a lot, if you have that sort of a passion for competitive coding, then please go ahead. It's a great thing in its own place. Thanks a lot, Aditya, Aniket. Thanks, Priyanka. Thanks a lot for attending. One random question. You won a prize at an Mlh Hackathon a month ago. You haven't received an update on tracking ID. All right. So if it's a specific prize and you've received your tracking ID via email, um, then that could be something on the end of the logistics carrier that happened with me during the VS Code hackathon as well, and you shouldn't be too worried. But if it's getting too troublesome, you can always email back on the person who contacted you from MLH. So if it's a prize, chances are maybe Kevin or someone else from the ops team contacted you, and you can always email them regarding this issue. Typically, though, with the APAC region, prices can take 6 to 8 weeks. They don't, but that has been seen in the past. So if it's a proper price, if it's a hackathon price, then if it's a month, you can always go ahead and mail. If it's something like if it's something for the stickers or something, then that is something you shouldn't worry too much about. That takes 6 to 8 weeks. What technologies do I know? So I've been working with Xamarin, which is a .NET based framework for cross-platform application development, and that uses C Sharp. Apart from that, I've been working a lot with Azure. Um, I like Azure because of course, credits are there. But apart from that, cognitive services in Azure is something I've been using regularly. I've worked with Cosmos DB, which is a NoSQL solution from Azure, and it has a MongoDB API, so that is something I've used. And apart from that, I have been learning web development recently. I'm getting into JavaScript now, vanilla JavaScript for the time being. I'm gonna move to frameworks afterwards. Yes, Azure is love. Thanks for that, Ikanch. Web of okay, so you're into cybersecurity. The domain has no requirement of competitive programming. Yes, so if you're in cybersecurity, CompTIA has their own Discord. You can find that from their Twitter. They have announced that on their Twitter. I have worked with CompTIA, which is a huge certification provider for IT and cybersecurity, and they have their community. That's a community you can always join. And yes, cybersecurity typically does not have a requirement for competitive programming. It is a specialized field with very different requirements. So if you're focused and dedicated to cybersecurity, that's a great place you can join. You can find um, their Discord link on that from their Twitter. And yes, you can please. That's a thanks for that, Ekans. I was just getting to that. You should try and get an internship with the Gurgaon Cyber Cell under Akshay Tandon or with his organization. That's going to be a great experience for you. That's great exposure. And also another thing that I have noticed is that cybersecurity tends to require certain certifications as well. So keep looking at offensive security certifications. CompTIA is great. Then again, you've got the CEH from, that's definitely there. Those are common ones, and those are things you can look at. Along with that, keep focusing on your networking knowledge. That is very important. On your basic IT fundamentals, those are very important. Coursera is a nice platform. What I will also recommend is something like Cybrary, Cybrary. That's a great platform. So keep looking at these, keep learning from these, and if you're getting into pen testing or something, keep practicing on something like Hack the Box and all, and try to participate in capture the flag events. That's going to be a good experience for you. How to become a QTAP campus expert? Ekansh would be the best person to take that. The campus expert, they've recently revamped their website and they've put up their application procedure that you can check it out there. For more intricacies, Ekansh is the best person to talk to right now. Otherwise, I mean, even if you don't have certain queries, just tell, you can all talk about what you're doing and what you're trying to learn, and I'd love to know more about that as well. So, you can stay active in the chat, talk about what you're learning right now, if you're building any projects or participating in any hackathons or programs, or, what you're looking forward to at Script Winter of Code. That'd be awesome. Great stuff, Ankit. Web is great. That's a great technology and domain to pick. Um, One big recommendation, you should always follow Tane Pratap if you're focused on web development. He has some lovely content, great mentorship. Tane Pratap is a great mentor for web. Have mastered Java, that's awesome. Another Java dev. Yay. That's awesome. That's great. Java's cool. I like Java as well. Your current Aditya's currently learning DSA in C++ and learning it. Okay, awesome. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. DevPost is a good platform to find hackathons. You can always find hackathons on the MLH website as well. That's a good place. HackerEarth is a great platform for hackathons as well. You can check out HackerEarth. Then you've also got DevFolio, um, another platform that has a lot of hackathons listed, especially ones by Indian universities and all, as well, and blockchain. As far as Java frameworks go, Ankit, I haven't worked too much on Java frameworks. I typically do that for my DSA stuff. For development, I've been focusing on C Sharp and Xamarin for the time being. Oh, that's cool. Java for Android. Quick suggestion. If it's for Android, it would be cool to, maybe jump to something like Kotlin, since that is the officially recommended language by Google for Android. How to make a team for hackathons? So for hackathons, of course, you can reach out to your peers in college beforehand. Otherwise, typically, if you're going in, if you want to build a team at a hackathon, in every hackathon's communication platform, they have a team formation or a team activity or something like that. And you can always reach out to people there and find, see if there is a fit in tech stacks, or if you find like-minded individuals, that's always a way to go. But I do recommend doing that before a hackathon begins. Doing that during the hackathon, it's good to have a sort of a communication already present with your fellow hackers. So if you're making a team, it's best to make it before the hackathon, and you can very well utilize the channels for that. Shivaya is awesome. Oh wait, Aditya, you were there at Let's Hack. That's great. Ekant, Shivaya, and I, we were all judges at Let's Hack. Oh, lovely. Awesome. Great to find people over there at Let's Hack. And yes, if you can get a chance to hack with Shivai in a team, that is a privilege. So yes, if you can bag Shivai, sir, that's gonna be great. That privilege is something only Shivai sir can tell. You can ask Shivai sir about that. Questions. Okay, Spring Boot or React or Flutter, which one to choose? Okay, so if you're sticking to Java, for Java specifically, Spring Boot is there. Somehow in recent times, I've seen the hype for Flutter has relatively decreased. And I haven't worked with Flutter, so I can't comment on that. React is a great option if you're into web, and React will make it very versatile for you. For mobile specifically, yes, there is React Native. I, I mean, if you want to do native apps, then native iOS apps, there's Swift. But if you want to go cross-platform, then React Native is always a good option. Web apps, you have React, and I think out of all of these, web apps do provide you the most versatility. So React is a good way to go, but of course, you'll need JavaScript knowledge for that, and Java is and JavaScript are independent, so that's another language you have to focus on. But it's going to provide you a lot of options if you go for React. So React's a great option. I mean that would be my choice out of the three. What do you have to do in MSP program? Organize events. That is one aspect of it. But so what we are is essentially on-campus evangelists for Microsoft. So sharing knowledge, creating impact, teaching, upskilling and learning ourselves, all of those are good things that we have to do as student ambassadors. And it's not just organizing events, that is one aspect of it, but there's a lot more to the program as well. Awesome, web app. That's always a great option to explore. Ankit, if you're in first year and you're here, well done. You've actually, if you've got your priorities sorted about this right now, that's awesome. Great to see you here. Yeah, absolutely. DSA and Java is a great choice. I typically, if I have to recommend for DSA, I recommend C++ or Java. Those are the two I recommend. Java is a good choice. I think there are some people who disagree because Java has a larger syntax. That is one thing, but I personally prefer Java. That's so I will always go ahead with Java.
So, so, participants, are you able to enjoy in this session, like to today's session and all? Okay, I think so. A lot of questions I'm seeing right now have been answered so far. Okay, a lot of questions
Yeah,
are
I
there.
just saw one new question. I just saw one new question.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't comment
yeah.
on how good 4Q is in Python. I myself was 6Q in Java, and I then didn't practice too much on Code Wars. But why don't if you're if you're focusing for internships, why don't you try on lead code? If you can comfortably solve lead code mediums and get to hards, that's a great time. When you can start applying.
Yeah.
I can't comment for code wars. I haven't practiced as much there. So yeah, that's
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been fun. This has been awesome. Great
Yeah.
questions, to be honest.
So I think participants are enjoying because the amount of questions that I'm seeing from my side is a lot of questions, a lot of questions, BFC communities, conferences, a lot of things that I'm seeing right now. Okay, a lot. Okay, in the chat they're also typing it. Okay, let me see the chat. Okay, okay, they're enjoying it. Okay, so participant, this was the first day of community bonding. Okay, so it's not over yet. Okay, we are again coming on. Guess any date. Okay, let's play a game with him. Okay, I want you to feel connected with us. Okay,
Yeah,
so next we are coming on 30th. Okay, next we are coming on 30th of December. Okay, 30th December we'll be having two sessions on that day. One is on 3 to 4. Okay, let me tell you the session. I will be like sharing on
that's
Slack as
really
well.
cool to
So the
do
first
community sessions
session.
on the same day.
So one second, hold on a second. Yeah, one is coming Deepak. He is one of the G Shockers, and he will be telling how SWOG can help you with G Shock. I think so. Everyone wants to go and Google some of code.
That's
Okay,
really
so
cool.
you'll be coming 3 to 4
Yeah,
p.m. 30th December, and there is something surprise that is coming on that day on 6 to 7 p.m. Okay, Aditya, let's ask them who will be the next speaker on 6 to 7 p.m. Or should I will be telling the name. Let's ask
Yeah,
them. If you have
let's
any
give a few
idea,
hints there.
I think so.
Let's give a
Because
few hints and
that
see if
he will
someone
be
can
telling
guess.
you. He will be telling you how you will be getting internships in 2021. He is one of the most
And
brilliant CEOs that I
yeah,
know. Shubhendu Panigari, the CEO of
in the
Skillenza,
startup space,
coming
yeah,
on 6 to 7 on 30th December, and I will be telling you how you will be getting internships. How you will be getting internships in 2021. Either it's Skillenza, either it's Google, either it's Facebook. Any. He will be there on 30th December 6 to 7, and Deepak will be there on 3 to 4 on 30 December. Okay, so I will be sharing the details on Slack, so you can register for that if any of the sessions. Okay, but there will be more sessions that will be coming in January 2021 that I will not be telling right now. That I will be telling you on 31st of December. Okay, means New Year
that's
Eve.
another great
Okay,
speaker.
okay. So if you have any questions, you can ask from Aditya. You can connect with him on social media handles. Aditya, I think we have given your website as well. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can
Yeah,
ask. Okay. You can connect with on social media. And thanks for joining. And I will see you on 30th of December with two major sessions of community bonding, day two. Okay. Thank you.
thanks a lot to everyone for being here. It was really great interacting with all of you. And yeah, you can always find my LinkedIn, Twitter, and other socials on my website and connect from there. Thanks a lot for joining.